If you're self employed and trying to get finance, you may end up pulling your hair out at the process because it is quite different to when you have regular employment. Do the banks want 2 years? Do you have to have full sets of financials? How long do you have to be in business for? I hear all different stories from different banks and different clients when they ask me about it. So I want to get straight to the point, and I sat down with a mortgage broker to ask these questions. I'm here with Will Bell, who is a mortgage broker based in Melbourne, and I'm going to ask him some questions about the key differences of self employed versus a regular employment when you're trying to get finance, and what are some of the key things that you need to make sure you've got in place to ensure that you've got the best chance of working with your mortgage broker to get your finance approved if you're self employed. How are you, Will?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. What is the key difference? I'm going to get straight to it between
Go for
if
it.
you are self employed or if you are employed as a regular wage earner when you're trying to get finance.
I think from a lender's point of view, the key difference is it's harder to actually try and understand or verify the income. So, for example, if you're in a normal job, PG, the lender's got a lot of confidence that that income is stable, and because we've got a lot of laws in Australia, it's going to be stable going forward. Whereas when you're self-employed, the data that they're collecting to figure that out is a lot more than what they're collecting from someone who's got a job. When you've got a job, you just need to provide your pay slips, maybe your income summary from MyGov. When you're self-employed, they'll ask you for a treasure trove of information to try and figure out how stable your income is and if you're good for the loan.
What type of documents are you typically going to be getting requested by the lenders that you're going to need to get from someone that's self employed?
What they'll ask for first is what they call full documentation. So that's going to be 2 years worth of your business financials. So if you're a company, profit and loss balance sheet, tax returns, as as well as your personal finances as well. So your personal tax return and your ATO notice of assessments.
From my experience, the 2 year mark is kind of what banks are looking for. If you have 2 years full of financials, they'll be happy to do with you. But I know there can be exceptions. So I went ahead and asked Will, what are the exceptions? Are there any workarounds?
Some lenders you can get away with 1 year, but then you're breaking down in particular niches. And when it comes to self-employed, there's a lot of different ones. So we'll probably just play around with your standard general stuff at the moment. But yeah, 2 years is your general, and then if you can't have that, there's probably they call them other alt docs or low docs these days, which we can get into.
Yeah, with the getting the data to you, obviously when we've got to get more and more information, does this make the lending process of getting an application approved more drawn out, or is it more just a matter of we've got to provide more stuff, but if you can provide it all efficiently to your broker, we can still get a loan approved in a reasonable amount of time?
Um, it depends is the correct answer, because it depends how complex the client's position is. When I say their position, their personal position, but also their business position. And then it just depends on the actual complexity of the loan application itself. So sometimes I'll get all the documentations if the client or the client's accountant provides them within a couple of days. I can be 3 or 4 days analyzing, doing all the number crunching, and I'm happy with everything I've got. However, I've seen way more complex applications. I had one last month, or might have been the start of the year, where it took me 4 to 6 weeks of actually going through the numbers. There was a couple of 100 pages worth of financials with that particular application. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to give people an expectation around a particular process, because especially business owners, they're very individual in what they want and what their actual businesses are, and what their financials look like. So in terms of expectations, quite a lot of the time it comes down to me having a chat with the client, initially getting the documents, and that gives me some sort of understanding of how complex this is going to be, because at the end of the day, what the bank are going to do is look at all the same documents. So I can get a tell on how complex and how much digging the bank are going to do. So yeah, it's really hard to give the client that expectation up front.
From my experience, it just means you need to give yourself more time because there is going to be a back and forth. It's not going to be as simple as just printing 3 pay slips and showing that to your broker. You're going to have to communicate between your broker, between your accountant. If you're doing something mid-year and you need interim sets of financials, if you're really trying to push something through, you're going to need to allow time for your accountant to prepare them. If you still haven't done the prior year tax return, then that's likely going to be a key element to getting approved. So again, it's time. And therefore, if you're planning on getting financed as self-employed, I think you should try and give yourself as much time as possible to be prepped for that. We both touched on the importance of being prepared and understanding how the process is going to work. And I truly believe that is where the real value in a mortgage broker lies. But we'll ask Will straight out, what is the value of using a mortgage broker, in particular if you're self-employed?
Banks all assess income expenses differently. So you could go to, I don't know, let's say your 4 main banks get knocked back. They probably won't even tell you the reason why. But there may be some other bank, or there may be several other banks that will approve the loan. The problem is when you are doing credit applications, it does negatively impact your credit score. So if you're doing 2 or 3, it's probably not too bad. But if you're going crazy, going to different lenders, maybe you're doing other applications as well. Maybe you've got a business overdraft and they're looking at your credit file every month or every 3 months. They all add up. So the mortgage broker is going to get a good understanding of your position, what your needs are, and they're going to be able to go and do all of the research up front. So I know with all of my clients, my personal process is to get all of the documentation the bank are going to look at up front. Then I go and do my research, and that gives my clients the best probability of getting the actual loan approved when it comes down to business. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing something like a purchase or you've got a deadline, you don't want to be mucking around delaying things because, for example, I've seen house purchases fall through because the purchaser just wasn't prepared. And in the case of self-employed, you have to be prepared a lot. The more time, the better. And yeah, generally what happens is someone buys a property, they delay because maybe they haven't even got their tax returns done, and the vendor doesn't want to wait forever, and they resell the property.
I've seen recently dealing with a client who's trying to get finance, he's self-employed, and he's using a broker, and they've gone to multiple banks who wanted completely different sets of documentation, etc. And I think that's the key: is you want to find a broker that's well versed in self-employed loans, because what you need to provide is going to be very different by bank, and they're going to know what they need to provide based on your own situation. One of the biggest struggles that I see when you're trying to get finance as a self-employed person is not knowing how much income your business needs to generate to get that loan approved. I think this is where an early conversation with your mortgage broker can really help.
Quite often, that's what we're doing when people come to me early. They might be, I might look at their financials. There's a couple of lenders that will still take the 2022 financials in March. But I might look at the 2022s, for example, and I might say, well, your income is 20 grand short, for example. You need to earn another 20 grand in the 2023 financial year. Go and have a chat with your accountant to see if you can make that happen or not. Because as you alluded to there, you can potentially move some things around so that one year the income may look a certain way and the expenses, for example, may be put into the next year. Is that did I say that clearly enough?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. It's like, if you're wanting to get finance approved, and we're in, at the moment we're in March, and you're wanting to get finance approved in about 6 months' time. Now is the perfect time to have that conversation with the broker, have that conversation with your accountant to go, where's my income likely to fall? Am I actually on track? Do I need to pick up some more jobs, or is it a matter of just juggling some figures around? What can we do to give us the best chance of success? When it comes to getting your house in order, is there anything in particular that you think that self-employed people should be doing to give them the best chance of getting an application approved besides having more income?
Yeah, having more, make more money. I'm good at saying that. I think it's all common sense, to be honest with you. Um, if you can pay your bills on time, if you can see your accountant when you're supposed to see your accountant, um, what we spoke about before, if you get to your mortgage broker as early as possible, I think they're the basic things you need to do. Because if you've got the professionals around you, you could just, or the experts around you, um, you can just tell them what you're wanting to do and they'll have a look at what you've got at the moment and they can guide you in the direction that's going to best suit you to achieving that. I've been in money for 15 years. I've been in finance for 15 years. And there's a reason people pay for accountants and they use mortgage brokers and they got financial planners and lawyers. And that's because they can do the job. So um, what I would say is just employ the experts, employ them early and let them guide you.
Yeah, I think that's really good. It's get onto it early, do the basics right of actually making sure your finances are in order. Have you got your tax returns done? Are you paying your bills on time? Are you actually making a profit? And then just lean on the experts that you obviously hired to help because that's their job. The accountant's job is to make sure your tax returns are done, obviously in a tax effective way, but also done on time so that you've got the ability to get finance. The broker's there to help you get the loan approved. And if they're not doing that, then you've got the wrong people because they're not experts if they can't help you in those areas. It's been really good chatting to you, Will. I've definitely learnt a few things there myself. Where can people find more of you? I know you've got a YouTube channel. Give it a bit of a plug and tell people what you're all about.
Oh, mate, just plug in the old Googles. Yeah, I'm on YouTube. I have quite a different view to debt, quite a conservative one, which a lot of people seem to find refreshing. So you can check out all of that there. I comment on the economy and the housing crisis and all of that sort of fun stuff. But yeah, if anyone wants to chat finance, you can you can Google me, book a time to have a chat. I'm always happy to have a quick chat, 15 minutes, just to see quite often if I'm the right person to help people, if I can add any value, because sometimes, I'm not the right person and I get just as much value out of kind of linking people up to make sure they're getting in touch with the experts. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I think that's the key thing. Make sure you've got the right experts because this is going to be a time consuming process, but you want to give yourself the best chance of getting approved. Really appreciate your time. Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Ethan.
I really enjoyed that chat with Will. I think my biggest takeaway is it is so important to be prepared. Have that conversation with a broker early to know how much income you're going to need to generate, and then go ahead, speak to your accountant about setting your finances up in the best way to give you the most chance that you're going to get your finance approved. One of the key things to getting that approved is going to be ensuring your business is generating enough profits. In this upcoming video, I go through the number one number that you need to track if you're wanting to grow your business. I thank you for watching and I hope to see you over there.